right. Here we go, JR. Yep. Three minutes. And then we're live. Okay, on the Tuesday. Real news at 1. The real news. Yep. Here's Catherine. Two minutes, everybody. And yes, we're going to be active tonight. Yes. Yep. There's no question about it. Well, there shouldn't be a question about it, I should say. Okay. 2 minutes, everybody. Another beautiful day. Yep. You have to admit it's beautiful weather outside. All right. We are standing by momentarily, waiting for the cue from JR. Then we spring into action. And there it is at 106. 106 on this Tuesday, September 17th. Folks, this is the real news at 1. You are listening to the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. This portion of our program is brought to you by, excuse me, PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Folks, this is without question. Can you imagine? Can we dream just for a moment if we had this type of weather all year round? I think it is actually like this in Carmel, California, right near Pebble Beach. I believe it's what's considered like the nicest weather in the country. It is essentially like this year round, even if it was just a couple of months a year that we had this type of weather. But fall is definitely in the air. Homegrown mums and kale, PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Sizes ranging from 4-inch to 12-inch pots, ornamental peppers, 4 to 6-inch pots, everything you need for all your fall decorations and more. Pumpkins, straw bales, cornstalks, gourds, Indian corn, native vegetables, local honey, maple syrup is available. And remember, this is the ideal time for planting at PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. They also have mulch loam, crushed stone, always available, pickup and delivery. They are open 7 days a week. Look for them on Facebook. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. All right, so obviously a lot of people are buzzing about what we have on DePietro.com, which I'm going to touch on. Remember, which is brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. They're waiting for you in the market at the Coesit Inn. Now, if we log on to DePietro.com, which I'm doing as we speak, and I encourage many of you that follow the program, if you scroll up and down, for instance, you can listen live there. That's true. We have a yellow donate button. Hello. We also have information on the Chosen One. All of the radio show, all 3 hours, is right there in library category fashion. We also have the online shop where we have great merchandise. You can contact me. And then we have original stories and content. And so if you log on to DePietro.com, Homeland Security Raid Recap. So now we broke that story when it happened last week. Yesterday, they did a press conference and they released the details, which I will touch on. But then we have this. Was the 18-year-old killed over a video? Now that's sparking a lot of talk, and I'm going to touch on that in just a moment. This has to do with, it was August 25th, the Sunday afternoon. Some individuals rolled up to a street off Eddy Street in South Providence and took the life of someone who had turned 18 that day. So we have different information there. It's interesting, the reaction within some people to that. But you can read that, see the video, and then this ongoing drama in Warwick that is playing out. And also the state police has Rhode Island schools on alert. I believe it's just a precaution. So various people are emailing me saying, I pulled up to pick a school to drop my child off, and I noticed there was police activity. It's because of a threat, and they don't want to take chances. But you can see, you have the Warwick mayor making accusations. He's actually responding to something that his opponent had said, and then he responded, and then his opponent then responded to that, thanking someone who sent an anonymous letter to his home. But you can read it all at the website, which is DePietro.com. Now, before I touch on some of those stories and more, I do want to, I received an email from Lindsay. Lindsay has a problem with her. I'm not sure exactly what part of her foot, but she's unable to walk around. She's not even going to the Big E, apparently, because the amount of walking involved, and asked, who is it that I recommend? Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialist. 3 great doctors, Dr. Colanino, Dr. Rhoda, Dr. Battery, folks. And Lindsay, contact Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialist. Call them 401-949-3220. Set up an appointment. Where are they located? That's a fair question. Right in the Smithfield Medical Center, Route 5 in Smithfield. Dr. Colanino, Dr. Batty, Dr. Rhoda, folks, these are board-certified podiatrists. This is what they do. They're not some, young dropout in a good feet store that just wants to sell you expensive inserts. Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. They take all health insurance. They have digital x-ray on site. Their staff is there ready to. Foot pain is not normal. And if you call them, maybe you can get it treated, then you can walk around the Big E. So whether it is a skin condition, or maybe you have a sprain you don't even realize, or a fracture, whatever it may be. I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you that it's not your imagination. Yeah, completely ruins your quality of life if suddenly you're always having problems walking everywhere. Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists, look for them online at greenvillefoothandankle.com and also on Facebook, or call them 401-949-3220. Now, a couple of things in no particular order. First of all, some of the stories on the website. So we have the information. And I want to I'm not going to talk about it too long, but the 18-year-old, is it gang involved? Yeah, it's definitely gang related. Are the rest of the media? Of course, they're not going to talk about it. I mean, what are we talking about? Now, that day when they showed up, was it a robbery? No, it wasn't a robbery. They went there. They basically executed him, and fled. So you have to get into. I'm somewhat amazed. Maybe amazed is not the right word. Dismayed, perhaps. I'm on all different platforms, and one of them was Instagram. And the reaction, oh no, that just let him rest in peace and let the family. This is still an unsolved homicide. Now, again, I don't know the individuals involved, but I know information that I'm receiving, and that is what I find striking is the number of the different individuals. Oh, don't post that. Like, they're content that it remains an unsolved homicide. They're seemingly content or treat it like it was God's will. One of them even put, it's only known to God what happened. I mean, that's ludicrous. No, it's not. Somebody showed up. What provoked it? What sparked it? And it's my understanding information. This was someone that had been a member of one group, gang, and left them and joined another one, and then started knocking his former one. Videos float out there. They just keep looking at them. There's words back and forth, but it is, what's the right word? I'm almost struggling with it. I don't know. I could just easily say how pathetic it is that so many of them are willing to accept, like, hey, let him rest, let the family grieve. They don't want justice. They don't seek to get answers. And many of them, and this is an ongoing problem that I don't hear any elected official talk about, and that is the situation where something happens and people don't cooperate with law enforcement that are trying to investigate it. And so they have to, it doesn't mean that they sometimes can't solve things, but they're certainly not getting any help from many of the friends and some family, but certainly friends that know what happened. One person put me a message, well, it's none of my business what happened. Well, none of your business. He's supposed to be a friend of yours. He's 18 years old. They showed up, boom, and did that. And you don't think it's any of your business, but you do feel it's your business to post and say, let him rest, take that down. No one should talk about it. It's outrageous behavior. Much like, and I've said, with the 7-year-old girl that was lost her life. It was an act. They weren't aiming for her. Sometimes I wonder that I even have to put something like that. Were they aiming for her? Of course not. They were aiming for the father. But even when we had one of the shooter's mother on, she talked about her son had a problem with the father, the driver of the vehicle. Did he contact police? No, he didn't contact police, because none of them contact police. And that's part of the problem. And as it's been reported, no one wants to talk about that, by all accounts, the father wasn't even cooperating with law enforcement at Hasbro. I'm sorry, that is a foreign world to me. That's foreign to me. That's foreign that something happens to one of your children, and you still keep this, I don't know what it is, street code that you don't say anything. So I wanted to just address that. Folks, this portion of our program, if you're thinking of improving your home or business, contact AJ Home Improvement today, 401-323-9252. Frame to finish basements, acoustical ceilings, new homes. Maybe you need the inside of your business painted. Maybe you need the inside of your home painted. Whatever it is, if you're thinking of improving your home, contact AJ. As I've stated, more people are adding on to their home. And then, I spoke with someone who, the parents live in the home. The parents are adding onto the home. They're adding an in-law apartment. They're going to live there. And their daughter and son-in-law are going to move into where they're living because it's so difficult with housing right now. Folks, call them. They could do that. Or they maybe you have an unfinished garage or basement. AJ Home Improvement, 401-323-9252. 9252. Remember, frame to finish basements, acoustical ceilings, new homes, AJ Home Improvement, 401 323 9252. Well, folks, good afternoon. I implore you to contact Mosquito Joe. That company, they are so fantastic. Mosquito Joe of Rhode Island. I mean, there are people that are in the hospital. West Nile virus is real. I'm not going to, somebody lost their life. Mosquito Joe, Rhode Island, have them treat your property. You know what else I want to mention? If you're a business and you have an outside area, I won't say where, but I was somewhere recently. And as soon as it hit dark at this business where we were sitting outside, and there were other people sitting outside, I started getting bit. Like, how do you not treat your property? I don't get it. Not this day and age. Mosquito Joe of Rhode Island, they can do it. Now, while we're on the topic, I just want to finish out on DePietro.com. As far as the Warwick stuff, if you're upset over the mayor's opponent, then you go after or criticize the mayor's opponent. God bless me. God bless me. I see she posted, then he posted, then she posted again. And I see someone put, this is fake. That's not fake news. I'm putting their exact words. I think some people, as a matter of fact, I know there are people that they throw around terms and they don't even know what the terms mean. And what are the terms they throw around? Fake news. You don't even know what that really means. And the same thing, some people throw around, bots when they don't even know what a bot is. That's not fake news. Fake news would be if she never posted anything or he never posted anything. And that's not the case. Fake news is something either that didn't happen or you turn it around. And I'll give you actually a perfect example of fake news. Someone posted online. This was, I think, on Friday, that ABC had terminated the two moderators from the presidential debate last week. That is completely false. If anything, they'd get promoted for what they did. But that is an example of a fake news story. There's no truth to it in any way. They weren't terminated. I was a little surprised. Someone even sent it to me, but they can't tell. There's many accounts online where they put, oh, this is a parody account. And then they just put outrageous headlines on things. People throw around terms, that they don't even understand. But if you don't like the back and forth with the Warwick mayoral, well, again, I don't know how else they're posting on their campaign Facebook accounts. So it's coming from them. That doesn't mean you may not like what they're saying, or you may disagree with what they're saying, but it doesn't mean that's not fake. As I say, fake news is that ABC fired the two moderators from the debate. Now that we got that out of the way, this Hasbro situation is very serious. And I get that a lot of people might not fully absorb what's happening right now, but this is a very serious situation for the state, for the direction of the state, for the future of the state, and I want to touch on it. Folks, I also want to remind you, when you hear me talk about, which I do, the increased violence that's going on, the gang violence that's going on, I'm trying to help you. Rhode Island Guns and Ammo, Post Road in Warwick. George is right there. He is my gun guy. Pop in, get some ammo, get a firearm. He can direct you to the type of training that you need. Rhode Island Guns and Ammo, Post Road in Warwick. They're not far from Greg's. They are right near Cosmic Pizza. I try to give some landmarks. Post Road, it's Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. Look for them on Facebook. Now is the time. And they have defensive shotguns that are very inexpensive. And maybe you keep that in your home. I can tell you the people in Springfield are certainly finding them handy. Folks, Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. Now, I want to touch on this situation with Hasbro that Channel 12 is reporting. It is true that Hasbro issued a statement, but Hasbro, and again, if you're not um, familiar with it, Channel 12, I believe, or it was the Boston Business Journal, came out with a story that they're thinking of leaving to move their headquarters to Boston. So now the problem with that is suddenly they didn't deny the story. Hasbro said, as Hasbro continues to evolve, we're exploring options for our global headquarters. Make sure it's a space that can best serve our employees, partners, businesses' needs for years to come. So think of that. They didn't say, no, there's no truth to it. What I find frightening about this Hasbro story is, number one, it is for, I believe, at least 1,400 jobs in Rhode Island. That's number one. Number two, what I find most frightening is suddenly Governor McKee, and Mayor Grabian are scrambling, saying that they're trying to set up a meeting. Well, anyone that's been in business, if you are a business person, at this point, for that to get leaked, for that to get out, the fact that right now Governor McKee and the mayor of Pawtucket are now scrambling to try to set up a meeting, it is very possible that the horse is out of the barn here. So that is not being proactive. The reaction from, and just so we're clear, because I realize, and as I've said, I was at the station down the dial for at least 10 years. They don't do the public any good by putting the governor on only in these settings that he's comfortable in. But the fact of the matter is, look at what look at what Governor McKee and the mayor of Pawtucket said and what they didn't say. What they didn't say is what we're aware of this, and that's why we've been having ongoing discussions to do everything possible to firm up, so forth. But that's not what they said. They said, oh, if that's the case, then we're anxiously going to try to set up a meeting. Well, again, if you're a business person, that's a little, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. The fact that they didn't even know that Boston and the governor were courting them, the fact that Governor McKee and our elected officials did not know that Massachusetts officials are courting Hasbro and trying to lure them, that's a problem. That's a problem. And I mean, look at the relationship of Hasbro and the state. It's Hasbro Children's Hospital. Do you know why it's Hasbro Children's Hospital? Because they donated the money to make that happen. They're not just, a good business partner. They are a fundamental core business partner. But look what they see. They see companies leaving. They see an unfriendly business atmosphere. They see a bridge that's cutting off half the state. They see a governor that's operating in a pay-to-play type atmosphere. They're looking at the landscape. And then meanwhile, less than 60 miles down the road, they have someone saying, hey, how would you love to have your headquarters right here in Boston? This is so problematic because you're not going to replace someone like that. That's one of the reasons why, folks, our segment that we do on Mondays, Politics This Week with Justin Katz, I don't know. I don't hear a lot of other media talking about it's so important to have the right business climate and atmosphere. And these people, they're the state leaders that we have, they're incapable of it. And especially McKee. It starts with him. So now, right now, unless something changes, I mean, the best hope that the state has is that Helena Foulkes, former CEO of CVS, beats him in a primary, and then becomes the next governor. The question is what's going to be left by the time that may happen. And I know that others may try to challenge, but the fact of the matter is she did beat McKee in day of voting. But this is very serious, because otherwise, as I have talked about, everything becomes a bond and a public project. If there's no building going on, no companies are coming in, no one's building the new headquarters here, the new strategy they're doing is, well, then we have to give the laborers all this work, right? We have to hit a certain amount each year with them that we agreed to. So we're gonna, they're gonna build new police headquarters, no bid. They're gonna build new school. I've heard that that's one of the reasons why at the State House in Ruggiero, the fact that they're even talking about URI having a medical school is not that there's a need, not that, Brown University has a medical school. You can imagine what is encompassing with something like that, but it's all about so organized labor could then build all these new buildings at URI for the new med school. I mean, this is the point we're at. Everything becomes new police station, new safety complex, new schools. But you don't see any private headquarters being built compared to if you travel to certain states. And even then at the time, Gina Raimondo used to say, do you see cranes in the sky? Anyone that travels, and maybe you travel or someone but you go to, obviously anywhere in Florida, but Florida, Texas, the Carolinas, both North and South, Tennessee, Ohio, there are some states, as far as you can see, especially Tennessee, it is cranes everywhere in the sky. Companies, they're leaving California and they're going to places like Nevada. They're going to places like Arizona. They're going to places like Texas. Texas is just new buildings going up everywhere, and it's all private companies. You don't have that because Governor McKee is a puppet. This Hasbro story, it's very, very serious. Now, I do want to talk about the bridge in just a moment. But folks, I want to remind you on this Tuesday, if you're thinking of a new kitchen or bathroom, Dream Maker, give them a call. Dennis and Christina, they're located right on Greenwich Avenue in Warwick. It's Dream Maker. You can call them at 401-433-7272. 401-433-7272. Dream Maker. Now, they will take you from concept to completion. Dream Maker Bath and Kitchen. If you're either listening or watching on this Tuesday and you're thinking of redoing your kitchen or bathroom, Dream Maker. Remember, respect, integrity, customer focus, transition from dreams to reality. Let me tell you about Dream Maker. Dennis and Christina, they're the type of people you want to do business with. There are some unscrupulous people out there. But with Dennis and Christina, it's respect, it's integrity, it's customer focus. If you're asking me on this Tuesday in September that you want to redo your kitchen or bath, who do I recommend? It's Dream Maker. Respect, integrity, customer focus. At the very least, put them in the mix. 401-433-7272. And again, their state-of-the-art design center, Greenwich Avenue in Warwick, right next to Koch Eye and right down the street from Crown Plaza, Dream Maker. Well, folks, good afternoon. This is the real news at 1. Yes, we'll be doing Road Patrol later. This, a couple other stories. Number one, Channel 12 again, I want to give them credit. Woonasquatucket River remains off limits 6 years after $100 million settlement. How is this possible? Federal state officials celebrated 2018 $100 million settlement with Black & Decker. Clean up 3 miles of toxic soil in the Woonasquatucket River. So the Superfund site lead to the reopening of the river, cuts through multiple towns. The river's been closed to swimming, fishing. It's on something called the National Priority List, one of the biggest contaminated sites in the country. Fast forward 6 years, there's little to show for the settlement. Federal officials point to some cleanup work that's been done, but 3 miles of toxic soil remain. Families are still receiving summer robocalls with the same warnings that Johnston Mayor Joe Policino remembers hearing when he was a child growing up. Don't go anywhere near it. Target 12 investigation has learned the lack of cleanup activity is partly the result of stalled negotiations of what it would take to dump 300,000 tons of toxic soil at the state landfill, managed by Rhode Island Resource Recovery. It's frustrating. We need to show people we can come together. The impasse has frustrated federal officials to the point it spurred behind-the-scene talk about changing course, avoiding the landfill altogether, capping the toxic soil. A similar tactic was used in a complex known as Centerdale Manor, which in one pocket cleanup has happened since 2018. But Terry Gray doesn't like the idea. It involves extracting, removing it completely, surrounding areas. See, what is the point? What is the point? $100 million settlement, and they can't get anything done. This is an example why people get fed up with the inability of government to accomplish anything. I remember the big celebration, 100 million, and then it's just sitting there. It's absolutely disastrous that this money is still just sitting there. The money should not be sitting there. They should be proactive. There's just these people are unable. You did the heavy lifting. You received the 100 million. Of course, it doesn't make sense that then the money's sitting there and nothing is done. Our local government is too top heavy. They're not people that are accomplishing things. One of the reasons why many times, not all the time, but many times business people are then good in government is because business people know how to get things done. Business people, by the way, have to learn to get things done or they can't survive. And as I've said in the past, I think one of the best examples that at the time, 2012, presidential candidate Mitt Romney was effective where he talked about the government was cell phones and talked about if the government was still if the government was in charge of cell phones, they would still be the size of a shoebox when they first came out because of the private sector, because of competition. There's a new style of cell phone that is coming out all the time, and they're always being improved and they're always better. And that holds up to government. It is frightening that at this point, not one person has lost their job regarding the Washington Bridge. No one's been suspended. No one has been docked an hour of pay. And now, they're trying to say to these people, well, do you want it fixed or not? Do you want the bridge fixed or not? So we're going to have to work at night. But no one spoke to the residents about the damage it would be at night. No one talked about that. No one even got into the fact of the difficulties that it might. The city and Rhode Island DOT chose night work to reduce traffic on Gano Street. Someone that I follow on X put the failure under LVD leadership, hold a public meeting in Fox Point before starting the demolition is the failure to hold a public meeting, I should say, is consistent with the failure to repair, maintain, and inspect the bridge. No one thinks, gee, maybe we should talk to the residents and how this is going to impact them or what the reaction is going to be. No, they don't. I don't know. Again, it's foreign to me that They're seemingly, with the disaster, look at the businesses that are going out of business. Look at now Hasbro saying we're done with the inefficiencies and this foolishness with the traffic and the bridge. Think of that, Hasbro. We're relocating to Boston. That's how bad it is, with no confidence in the McGreed. And I'm not saying I even fault them. If you had an opportunity right now, you could have your headquarters in Boston, or you're going to deal with Governor McKee and the mayor. You tell me which one you're picking. The only time I heard from the Hasbro people, the only time they hear from the McKee people is when they want money, meaning the McKee people soliciting executives at Hasbro that they want people to donate to his campaign. That's what I was told. And I have no reason to believe that that's not accurate. Now, folks, this portion of the program, when you want to talk about running a business, I want to remind you about Volare Motors. They specialize in Volvo sales and service, quality pre-owned vehicles, largest selection of Volvos in Rhode Island, located 1003 Park Avenue in Cranston. Remember, great prices, great vehicles, tremendous service. Volare Motors in Cranston, New England's #1 dealer in pre-owned Volvo sales and service. Remember, with my friend Paul Staskavich, lives in Cranston, owns a business in Cranston, running for office in Cranston, plus his mechanic, Stephen. It's Paul at Volare Motors, 1003 Park Avenue in Cranston. Well, folks, good afternoon. This is the Real News at 1. Yes, we're going to do Road Patrol Live later. Yes, that is going to be happening. Now, there's also an interesting story, by the way. And this was in, someone broke it down. And I think this, Charles Stewart is this individual. And he put this out on X. He put, for yucks, I graphed the difference between the Democrat margin in the state versus the national margin for every presidential election since 2000. Here it is. Here's what he wrote. Now, this guy, just so you a little background on him. He's political science of MIT, and he does election performance index and so forth. And he said, I was surprised how Rhode Island has trended relatively R in this time, even much more than Massachusetts. So what's interesting about that is there's something to build on there. The Rhode Island Republican Party, there's something to build on there. It's actually not, people's imagination that in many ways that the state is turning more red. The only thing that is standing in the way, though, are credible elections. And that is something that is lacking. And as I have said in the past, when I talk about that the state doesn't have credible elections, I'm not talking about anything to do with President Trump. And even Ted Nesi illustrates the divergence between Rhode Island and Mass since the Obama era. So without question, when you look at and the way he broke it out and how Rhode Island, in fact, does in fact seemingly trend more Republican. That's something to note, and more so than Massachusetts. But it's not going to matter unless the Rhode Island Republican Party, and I want to be very clear about this, it's too late to do anything right now. The General Assembly will be in session at the State House, the Den of Thieves up on Smith Hill, starting in January. I've been saying it. Folks, it's the phrase, nothing changes if nothing changes. To me, the only thing that should matter is fair, honest, credible elections, because we don't have them right now. We don't. Someone asked me, do I think that should be one of the issues of the Republican leaders at the State House? I said, no, I don't think it should be one of the issues. I think it should be the only issue. Because as I have talked about, none of this matters if we don't have fair elections. And we don't. And it's proven time and time again. It was proven again with this whole business of it's showing itself with candidates trying to get on the ballot as far as, they're using, we saw it last summer and it resulted in charges with the Sabina Matos campaign. It happened again this time. And I want to remind people, dead people supposedly signing nomination papers, and those are forms that are notarized. The whole reason why we have learned that Sabina Matos, the lieutenant governor, was submitting fraudulent paperwork with the signatures of people that are deceased. The whole reason why that was caught was because places like Jamestown and Newport, where they have to be certified. Someone had to sign for it. There's a paper trail to it. Those are nomination papers, have a paper trail. As I have stated, right now, the mail ballots, there's no paper trail. Someone can deliver 500 ballots. Someone can deliver 800 ballots. And there's no paper trail as to how that came about, and they're not notarized. And I'll say this about the Rhode Island Republican Party. Nothing is going to change unless they take the lead on this. It's just not. Maybe those aren't the issues they want. Maybe there's other things they want to work on. There's one party that is content with the way the elections are going, and that's the Democrat Party. And therefore, they have no motivation to change it. They have no desire to change with what's happening with that. None. So as a result of that, we don't have legitimate elections. So, of course, people should feel encouraged when they see that, wow, there are more people voting red. Places like Cranston and Johnston and North Providence and obviously like Smithfield, North Smithfield, Woonsocket, Warwick, there are more people that are voting red. But I want to come back to, none of it matters if you don't have legitimate elections. It has to change. And I don't know what's going to change. I know people are very excited about President Trump. What we saw play out, I've already talked about. I mean, all they do is preach fighting. All they preach is fight, fight, fight. This whole business, I think it's empty words. When people like Senator Whitehouse, President Biden, when they say there's no room for political violence, well, there's one party that's enacting violence, and it's the Democrat Party. And you also see it locally. You had someone from the Senator Sheldon Whitehouse campaign. He assaulted and attacked that elderly woman in Newport about the offshore wind. That is, in part of that, granted, the media is not very, I don't find, aggressive about it. Another thing I want to mention, by the way, and there's a little, but don't fall for Governor McGreed pushing yes on 4 green energy. It's all a scam. All it is all these union jobs. That's all it is. This whole business of the green community or the green energy and green economy and blah, blah, blah. What do you see in the beaches in South County? All these dead fish are washing up. There's debris washing up on the beaches in Newport. No one is saving money on Block Island. I was talking to people on Block Island. No one is saving a penny on their electricity. It's these wind farms. It's all a fraud. And dead whales are washing up. It's all McKee cutting a deal with the unions to make all of those union jobs. That's all it is. I'm voting no on 4. It's all a scam. You can't believe them for anything. But this business of there's no room for political violence. Well, as I talked about 2 years ago, in September of 2022, there's a private company in Pawtucket, and It's a delivery company, and some of their drivers went on strike and making demands, and they set up a picket line. And there you have Governor McKee and Matos and the mayor of Pawtucket walking the picket line against a private company. That is completely inappropriate. They had no business doing that. My point is, if you're Hasbro and you look at that, it's very telling. Governor McKee, Matos, all the general office officials, they shouldn't have been on that picket line. They should say, no, I'm staying out of it. That is a private company dealing with their workers. People were arrested at that. There was violence. They were attacking some of the people that were going in. The violence that I see, political violence in our state, it's all coming from one party. And instead, all we get is this nonstop nonsense from Matos and McKee about the danger of white supremacists, and white supremacists are the big blah, 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 and everything else. Yeah, the guy that was trying to take out President Trump is a Democrat and a Biden supporter. Period. End of story. Folks, this Race for the White House update is brought to you by Propane Plus. Call them today, 401-885-4209. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus, 401-885-4209. You can find them online. If you use propane, you want Propane Plus. Residential or commercial, you can depend on Propane Plus. 401-885-4209, or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. Well, folks, if you log on to DePietro.com, we have the details. Last week, actually during this time, we were at the raid. It was a raid in Cranston. We were the first ones there. We were on scene and broadcast, and it was Homeland Security investigations. And what did I say? I said I had to call into them, and then we normally find out details afterwards, and they announced it. 2 Rhode Island men charged leading roles in large-scale organized theft crime ring. Following the seizure, 60,000 stolen items, over-the-counter pharmaceutical products, cosmetics worth $1.6 million. 2 Rhode Island men described in court documents. High-level members, organized retail theft crime ring, targeted retailers nationwide, then resold the stolen goods in bulks to other retailers and private citizens. So Norman Cipriano, 52 of Warwick, Patrick Vinot, 59 of Cranston, high-level wholesalers known within organized theft rings as diverters. Diverters set up shell companies, own warehouses, stolen merch is shipped, and act as suppliers for small to mid-sized retail chains. These organizations utilize e-commerce, promote their goods, unregulated third-party processes such as PayPal. But it goes on from there. It's even, let's see. So you had Warwick, Cranston, Pawtucket. We were at the Cranston raid, seizing enough stolen goods to fill 3 fully loaded 24-foot box trucks. They froze several bank accounts. It's alleged over the last years, they netted $12 million in sales. Think of that, staggering. So, and then they use mail, and that's why then you had Homeland Security, especially in charge Michael Kroll, who we spoke to on scene. But folks, again, this is court documents, these theft rings operated by diverting responsibility among various individuals. At the first stage, they employ individuals known as boosters, led by crew bosses, provide them with list of items to be stolen from retail outlets, most often high-demand, high-priced products. Stolen items are turned over to fencers, middlemen who work between the boosters, crew bosses, and others involved in the organization. Fencers move the items to cleansers, who strip retail anti-theft stickers and devices prior to being shipped to diverters. Diverters act as wholesalers. So it is a full chain going on. But folks, so much of this, To me, this is at the core of why you can't allow crime to go unpunished. And here's the thing, we've all seen, I believe, we've seen video. And the most of the videos were in places like San Francisco, the West Coast. They go in and they are cleaning out a place. And many of the progressives, what do they say? People are hungry. People, they need the shoe. They need the coat. They need that. It's organized theft. They're not stealing a loaf of bread, try to feed a family. They're stealing because there's an operation set up that they can make money off it and net a profit from it. And that's why they're engaged in it. Period. End of story. There's no other explanation for it. Folks, this portion of our program, have you been thinking of getting your driveway paved? Makes a huge difference if you pave your driveway or a parking lot. J. Perry Paving. Call them today, 401 732 1730. 401 732 1730. Letter J. J. Perry Paving. Licensed and insured, contractor, high quality, fair pricing, exceptional service, 20 years experience, specializing in commercial paving, residential paving, seal coating. So maybe it's your parking lot, or maybe you'd like to get your driveway paved. Now remember, no one has a free estimate, letter J, J. Perry Paving. No one has a better package for veterans than J. Perry Paving. So if you're a veteran, or you're related to a veteran, or your mom or dad or your grandfather or your uncle or your son, contact J. Perry Paving. They have a great package for veterans. 401 732 1730. It makes a huge difference for your home or business when you have a freshly paved parking lot or a freshly paved driveway. J. Perry Paving, 401 732 1730. Well, folks, good afternoon. You are listening to the Real News at 1. Like everyone else, it is horrifying what is happening in the details of we're learning of the attempted assassination attempt on President Trump. I think it's been covered pretty extensively, but I think what really can't go under the radar and what really needs to be examined is how right now the first assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania was, of course, the kid that, it shouldn't have happened, but he worked, I think, in the kitchen in a nursing home. People saw him walking around. There was not a coordinated effort. He gets up on the roof. People are flagging him up on the roof. We know how that ended. Now, with the golf course incident, that was, again, some nut who apparently camped out there under the guise that maybe he would get lucky and President Trump would be golfing that day. And President Trump apparently made a last-minute decision to go golfing at his course that day, and then the guy was right there. But what I find frightening is at what point, whether it was Pennsylvania or Florida, that could have been operatives from Iran. What we're seeing, and I don't see anyone threading the needle, is the danger of having the open borders. Because the fact of the matter is, when you don't have a handle who has come in, when you're not vetting these people, when they're just crashing in, as so many of them are, it would seem to be a matter of time before a foreign entity who wishes us harm actually comes in, whatever country it may be. And I see that as that's the real danger here. Because if you're Iran or you're Syria, or if you're even China or North Korea, and you want to really throw us into chaos, it's just a matter of time before what if instead of that particular individual who, the reason they picked him out, as frightening as it is they saw his rifle poking out of the bush. But what if it had been a real pro? What if it had been someone with extensive military training in Iran or North Korea or China for that matter, who would know that maybe you don't put if he didn't put the rifle sticking out of the bush, obviously he was premature in putting it sticking out. But if he had not done that, then it certainly sounds he would have had a very clear shot at President Trump as he would have been making his way down the fairway. So, okay, the Secret Service, by all accounts, the system they use worked in that instance, but it is frightening what is taking place right now. It really is. And I don't think you can ignore a lot of the rhetoric coming from one side, and that is the Democrat Party. Well, folks, again, this has been the Real News at 1. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Coming up, you're going to hear the 2 o'clock news. We will be doing Road Patrol Live later. I also encourage you, log on to the website, depetro.com. And again, we have our original videos and stories. Again, enjoy this Tuesday. Stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. We're back on the radio tomorrow at 11. But again, we will be doing Facebook Live later. Stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news.